Welcome to Reigniting You, the show that explores a variety of topics and timely issues for making successful mid to late career transitions with a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment for the next phase of your career and life, regardless of your age. Now, here's your host, Lisa Downs.
Welcome to Reigniting You, where we talk all things career transition for those age 40 plus. I'm Lisa Downs, Seattle-based career and retirement transition coach. So happy to be here with you today and with our producer, Eric. So, hey, Eric, how are things today?
Good afternoon. Things are doing good. You know, I'm shocked that we're like 2 days from May, but the year is flying by, I feel like.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It seemed like it was just New Year's.
Absolutely.
A little bit ago, but there we go. Always keeps flying by. And we're excited for today's show. It's the fourth week of the month. So that means it's time once again for our best job, worst job, first job episode. I'll be sharing listener stories, a few career tips, and some career news headlines on today's show. And we'll get started with that right after this quick break.
Are you feeling challenged or frustrated without a plan for what's next in your career and life? Are you seeing writings on the wall for needing to make a mid to late career change and don't know how or what to do? Coach Lisa Downs of New Aspect Coaching can guide you to what's next, providing a fresh perspective and supporting you to create a clear and compelling vision for your future and a plan to move forward. Call Lisa at 425-216-3015. That's 425-216-3015. New Aspect Coaching, fresh perspectives for your career. What's your story? Have you ever sat with that question and looked to your heart for the answer? It's time to explore the real you. Tune in Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the brand new show, Story You, with Coach Debbie. Debbie and her guests have a mission to inspire and coach you to find your voice. If you need direction, Story You with Coach Debbie is for you. If you want to be an author, Story You with Coach Debbie is for you. Tune in Thursdays at 4 p.m. and be inspired.
Wherever you go, Alternative Talk 1150 is here for you.
Welcome back to Reigniting You, the show that focuses on all aspects of making mid to late career transitions. It's time for a few recent career-related news stories you may have missed given all of the other events going on in the world. So Amazon started its push this week to vaccinate thousands of its warehouse employees here in Washington state, running vaccination clinics in Kent and Spokane, with plans to open more clinics at other facilities in the state. This will help fulfill Amazon's goal of vaccinating its frontline employees as soon as they became eligible, as well as rebuke critics who blasted what they saw as a lack of safety precautions during the pandemic. As more people get vaccinated, many summer destinations and tourist hotspots are anticipating staffing shortages, especially those that rely on foreign workers who are unable to travel, combined with many workers still drawing unemployment to cover expenses, along with childcare issues or continued worries about returning to work with the pandemic still going on. Some resorts, amusement parks, restaurants, and stores are trying tactics like promising college students free housing and utilities, pulling employees together by sharing employees who work different shifts, and other strategies with an all-hands-on-deck attitude and mindset to pitch in. According to Prudential Financial's recent Pulse of the American Workers survey, 1 in 4 workers plan to look for a job elsewhere once the pandemic is over. It also shows that 80% of these employees are concerned about career growth and about 75% are rethinking their skill sets. It also looks like the hybrid work model of splitting time between the office and working from home is popular, with 87% of those surveyed wanting to go that route post-pandemic and be able to work from home at least one day a week. Factors like the decay of office culture, reassessing their career situation, and their current employer's response to the pandemic are contributing to the desire to leave for something else. The U.S. added 916,000 jobs in March, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, outpacing analysts' expectations. Since the beginning of the year, we've seen an employment increase of 6.1 million jobs, with the employers in the leisure and hospitality sector leading with 280,000 jobs last month, and employment in government rising by 136,000 positions. Professional and business services, manufacturing, transportation and warehousing, wholesale and retail trade, and the finance industry also added jobs. Lastly, Ford is opening a new facility in Michigan that they're calling Ion Park, where they'll manufacture electric vehicle batteries. While it'll be initially staffed by about 150 people, their goal is to make it an incubator hub to accelerate its research and development arm, testing and developing battery cell chemistries and cell types, working with suppliers, conducting pilot programs, and producing prototypes. It's promising news when it comes to potential employment growth in the electric vehicle industry. So, Eric, some pretty intriguing news stories today related to work and careers. What are your thoughts? What jumps out at you from these today?
Yeah, well, it sounds like a lot of good news, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see, more people getting vaccinated. And it's smart when companies coordinate with their workers on this sort of
Yeah.
thing, because, it is such a huge endeavor to get all the people that need to be vaccinated. And Amazon has shown that they can do things with huge numbers.
Yeah,
So
they
it makes
have.
sense for them to hop on board. And I always love news about them expanding electric vehicle
Mhm.
research and development and manufacturing. I drive an electric vehicle. I love it. There's so many misconceptions about electric vehicles out there. So it's just nice to see companies moving
Yeah.
ahead with this and recognizing that, yes, this is the future. It's not a question anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let me ask you about that, because I am
Sure.
curious about the electric vehicle thing. So I guess, is it a myth, or am I blowing it out of proportion, a concern about, if you want to do a car trip or, that type of thing, about finding charging stations that are available? Are they still kind of few and far between, or is that getting better?
It's getting a lot better
Okay,
and really fast too. And
that's
there's
good.
a easy app called PlugShare that you put on your phone, and then you can just find charging stations all over the place that you didn't necessarily know were there.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah, it's really handy. And the vast majority of driving, of course, is local.
Yeah.
So you really got to buy the car that you think you're going to use for certain jobs. So if you really are just going to commute, you don't need a car with more than like 100-mile range. I mean, most electric cars nowadays have much more than that,
Yeah.
but you really don't need much more than that. But if you're looking at doing more road trips, then something like a Bolt with 250 miles on it, or something like a Tesla that can give you 400 miles on it, is a much better choice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I think it's with these stories too. Well, at first I find it interesting that now they're anticipating staff shortages
Yeah.
for people who want to go on summer vacations, and
Hmm.
the resort
There's a
areas,
lot of pent up
typically
demand. People
pent-up
are itching to
demand.
get out there.
Yeah, and then some folks are kind of thinking, well, maybe I don't want to go back to work right away, or so you can see where that really can be an issue. But it's
Right.
good that they're thinking creatively. How can we kind of pool resources and
Yeah.
schedule people who are working, in different shifts, and split things, and try to handle it that way. But it'll be interesting to see this summer how that all plays out, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. And no set date, I don't think, for most
Yeah,
companies on when they're going to have the majority of their folks back in the office. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. If companies, one brave company decides to, just make everybody do it, or, is it going to be trickling
right.
along the way? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And encouraging news too. Well, for me, it's good news that people are reassessing what they want to do with work.
Yes.
Kind of reassessing their career situation, because of course that's my work, is helping people figure that out. But yeah, it is interesting that the high percentages. So that survey I mentioned, they surveyed about 2,000 people for that. And so pretty high numbers, 80%, 75%, really rethinking what is it they want to do next. I think this whole pandemic situation has just really been a big time for people to do a lot of self-reflection.
Exactly.
And really assess their lives. So I just found out the other day, a colleague I'd been working with, she also had a family member, lost a family member recently. So that's really hard. But that coupled with everything else, just shared with me, going to be moving,
Right.
changing the situation, leaving work. And I think, even without other unforeseen circumstances, it's just really been this time of people just saying, am I really doing what I want to be doing? And what am I doing with my life? And, is this how I want to be spending my time? Because
Yeah.
if anything, the loss of so many people has really reinforced how precious time is that we have here and, how precious all of our lives are. And yeah, it's just interesting to see for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've heard lots of stories about people, selling their house in the city and then moving out. Some of that, of
Yeah.
course, because of the super hot real estate market still, giving people top dollar for their houses. And it'll be interesting to see because a lot of people, I think, thought, well, I'm working remote. I'll always be able to work remote. But once the pandemic is over, that may
Who
not be the
knows?
case. I
That's
know a lot of
right.
companies still really feel that having everybody in the office is the way to go, that
Yeah.
people work their best that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's what
Don't
the
know.
thinking is for a lot of companies.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of wise to wait it out and see
Mhm.
because, I think we're going to see a lot of either hybrid models or, people, needing to be pulled back in.
So some people may have some very long commutes.
Yeah, may regret that decision in the end if they were a little quick to do that. But we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. But,
Absolutely.
well, thanks, Eric. And it's time already for our next break. So when we come back, I'll share some listener job stories with a few tips and preview what's coming up next week. Hi, I'm Lisa Downs, career and retirement transition coach and host of Reigniting You on KKNW. I guide age 40-plus professionals to gain clarity, a renewed sense of purpose, and a career transition plan within 90 days so you can lead a fulfilling life regardless of your age. No longer does change have to mean riding off into the proverbial sunset. Let's talk about what your next phase of life can look like. Visit yournewaspect.com or call me at 425-216-3015. That's 425-216-3015. New Aspect Coaching. Fresh perspectives for your career.
This is Rob Bass, and I want you to tune in to Don't Ask Me to Talk with Stacey Heller, the show that brings joy from pain, sunshine where it rains. Don't Ask Me to Talk with Stacey Heller. And that's coming from me, Mr. It Takes Two, Rob Bass. Tune in.
Do what Rob Bass says. Take a listen to Don't Ask Me to Talk with Stacey Heller. That's me, Tuesdays from 3 to 4 on KKNW. To find out more information, check out my website, staceyconnects.com, or text DAMTT to 55678.
Hello, I'm Nathan Mum. Join me and Mike Roday as we host a weekly technology show that talks about technology for the everyday common person. We are a live radio program that airs Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. If you go to facebook.com/TechTime Radio, youtube.com/TechTime Radio, or twitch.tv/TechTime Radio, you can catch us live Saturdays from 4 to 5 p.m. You can find us at all podcast services online from Apple to Google and everything in between.
Have a career transition related question or want to share your best or worst job story? Call 360-436-6496. That's 360-436-6496. Just leave a voicemail and we'll answer your question or share your story on a future show. Stay tuned for more Reigniting You with Lisa Downs.
Conversation you won't find on the rest of the dial. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Reigniting You, the show that discusses timely issues and topics about career transitions for Gen Xers and Boomers. I'm your host, Lisa Downs. A reminder that if you'd like to get in touch with me, feel free to go to my website, yournewaspect.com. There you'll find my free career transition readiness quiz that you can take, as well as a way to sign up for my weekly career tips that you can receive in your email inbox. So feel free to visit yournewaspect.com if you'd like to take advantage of either of those things or get in touch. So we're continuing our episode that's focused on listeners' best, worst, or first job and career stories, a regular feature, the fourth week of each month. I'm here with our producer, Eric. So, Eric, we've been talking a lot about the pandemic and with vaccinations and all of that. And I think a lot of us are anticipating the end, the light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully.
Exactly.
So,
we can see that light. We just don't know how far away it is.
So, what are you most looking forward to after the pandemic, kind of itching to do again?
Yeah, I would love to get out there and travel again. I love going to Europe. I have a great time every time I do that. So, but, with the pandemic, there was no way I was going to sit on a flight for 10 hours, and put that myself to risks there. And the other thing I really am passionate about is music. So live entertainment is going to be something that I'm really looking forward to coming back.
That's cool. Yeah, I think, for me, same here. So just attending some live events and the travel, and then definitely, seeing friends, right? So being able to hang out with friends that isn't on a screen. So we're not using our webcams.
Right.
And just hanging out, again, and catching a meal with friends or coffee or something, and making that person-to-person connection is so important. So
yeah, dining out is something that I've definitely missed. I've done a lot of takeout, which is great, but I'm ready to,
not the same.
Eventually go back to a restaurant.
Not the same. Yeah, me too. So hopefully, sooner rather than later, we'll get there. And it's time now for some listener stories. So just a reminder that you can submit your best, worst, or first job story by emailing it to me at reignitingyou@gmail.com. You can also call and leave me a voicemail at 360-436-6496. That's 360-436-6496. I'll share it live on the air at the end of May. So our first story is from Jackie in Tukwila, who shares that her worst job was when she was a meter maid. And then she says now she thinks it's called parking enforcement worker when she lived in Houston, Texas, because of long hours spent in the heat and having to write tickets to people. And she shares it got so bad that she'd make herself sick worrying about if someone was going to confront her when she was ticketing their car, fearing for her safety. And thankfully, she says she quit before anything too scary happened, though some of her coworkers had horror stories. Well, thanks for sharing that story, Jackie. I don't know that I could really do that job either. But you never know, what you're going to get out there in terms of, who you might encounter, especially something like that where someone's going to be none too pleased to see you writing a ticket to place on their car. But what about you, Eric? That seems like
it's a pretty thankless gig.
A thankless
for sure.
one, yeah.
Yeah. I remember the last time I got a parking ticket was actually in Santa Cruz, California. And I came up as the lady was writing it. I was like, do you really have to write this? And she's like, no, they've gotten on me for being too nice.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I got lost on the way back. I don't live here. And anyway, she gave me the ticket. So
yeah.
I could see it from their perspective. They're getting pressure from both sides for sure.
Definitely one of those jobs where I think you have to have kind of that personality type where you just kind of have to let things roll off of you. And if someone does unfortunately become too aggressive, with you, then being able to take measures toward that. But it's, stuff I probably wouldn't want to have to deal with on a regular basis. So.
Well, I heard years back that Berkeley, California came up with a law that says if someone comes up to you while you're writing the ticket, you can throw that ticket away. They can dispute the ticket and throw it away, which I think everybody should adopt that,
Yeah,
really. If somebody is there in time to stop you
right,
from
to
riding
stop
the
you,
ticket,
yeah.
then just let it go.
Let it go. Yeah, let it go. But yeah, that probably had to be a tough job, and an interesting one for sure. So our next story is a first job story from Robin in Burlington, who shares that hers was being a summer camp counselor between school years when she was in high school. And she says that though she liked it and had fun, it was great to be outside a lot when the weather was good. The downside was anytime she had cleaning duty and then having all of the camp songs they'd sing stuck in her head for a month afterward. Like great earworms, I imagine there. She also shares that the counselors always had to be ready to do first aid and comfort the homesick kids. So, did you ever go to camp, Eric? Summer camp or do that kind of stuff?
I did in school for like a week, but not like the real
Yeah.
summer camp where kids go away for a whole,
Yeah.
2 months or whatever. But I thought that was a lot of fun. And I did spend like 2 weeks as a camp counselor back in high school too. So saw it from both sides, and I thought that was fun too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some downsides to it, like the earworm campfire songs. So I feel for Robin. But.
Yeah, I feel for her too. That's a good story. Yeah, and but great, great to do that and to support the kids and help them with that experience. I'm
being
sure
in nature has got to be nice.
Being in nature has got to be nice. And I'm sure for a lot of kids, it's probably their first time away from home for that long of a time period. So, you could see where there's a lot of nurturing, comforting there involved for sure. And yeah, I never did the away summer camp thing. So I did stuff like swimming lessons, tennis lessons, just stayed locally and didn't do the overnight, sleepovers at friends' houses, but not the away camp type of thing. So
it always seemed to me a little more like a East Coast thing. Maybe I'm just imagining
maybe.
that, but
Yeah.
growing up on the West Coast, we just didn't seem like it was that common.
Yeah, it was pretty big in the Midwest too, where I grew up. So people go into summer camp.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, but yeah, the songs would also that would drive me because I'm big with music too, and I know those songs would just go right into my brain and drive
Hello,
me
Mana.
nuts. Yeah, that's
Hello, Fada.
There, Camp Granada.
That's right.
Yep, pretty much. Well, thanks, Robin, for that. And our best job story today comes from Kirsten in Bend, Oregon. That's cool. So, who shares that it was when she worked a food tent at the fair. So she says it was hard, hot work, but it was great seeing all the people and fun when someone she knew would stop by. She was also able to have perks like visiting the animals in the barns before the crowd showed up, eating for free, and making good friends who also work the fair every year. And she says there were a couple times when she'd also volunteer to work backstage at the fair concerts, though she didn't get to meet anyone really famous. But thanks, Kirsten, for that. That sounds like some pretty fun memories there, working the fair and great time there. So that sounds like a lot of fun.
That sounds like an ideal first job.
It does. Yeah.
People are paying to get into the fair, and you're being paid to be there.
Yeah. I could see where
I would have liked that.
Would get, especially those super hot days, it get kind of grueling, and especially if you're working having to cook stuff.
Even the best jobs have their downsides.
They do, but that sounds
for
pretty fun.
Like a teenager or a young adult. That sounds like a great.
Yeah, that sounds like a great job. So yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. I would think it'd be pretty fun too to do that backstage work and get to
funnel
see
cakes.
some of the acts, funnel cakes,
all that great stuff.
That's great. I remember Chris and I went to the Puyallup Fair, so one of our big local fairs here one year to see the band Train.
Oh, right on.
Concert, and that was fun, and it just poured rain.
Oh, yeah.
So, we were joking. We saw Train in the Rain.
Train in the Rain. That's a song right there.
So we got drenched, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a great show that they did. So always a fun time. Yeah, so very fun. Thanks, Kirsten. And thanks, Jackie and Robin, for sharing your stories for our listeners, too, about your great adventures. And remember that if you'd like to submit your best, worst, or first job story, or have a career transition question, you can send it to me at reignitingyou@gmail.com. You can also call and leave me a voicemail at 360 436-6496. That's 360-436-6496. To leave that for me, your story or question over audio. You can use a pseudonym. You don't have to use your real first name, but a name and location would be great. And then I'll share all of that on future shows. So it's time for today's reignition recommendation. That's your weekly career transition tip. And that's to ask yourself, how do I know this is so? To help you separate fact from story. So many times when we are struggling or we have a conflict going on at work or just something happens, we tell ourselves stories all the time. And because we have such wonderful imaginations as human beings, we just fill in the blanks and we tell ourselves stories. And then those stories can turn into excuses and, what we call limiting beliefs. And so really ask yourself a question when something happens or you're making an assumption. How do you know, in fact, that that's so? What's telling you that that's true? And is that, something that you saw that can be validated, or is it really a story that's in your head that's preventing you from moving forward? Well, thanks, Eric, for your participation and support today. As always, hope you enjoyed the news and our stories from our listeners today.
Absolutely. You've got me wanting to go to the fair.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have one this year.
It's getting to be
hard
that
to say.
time. Hopefully we'll have it. We'll see. Or, our state fair too. And as well as the Puyallup Fair. And hopefully we'll have those things this year. We'll see how it all goes.
Maybe I'll just eat a funnel cake at home.
There you go. We can make our own elephant ears.
That's right.
Don't know how that turned out, but we can try. We can try anyway. So thanks, Eric. And a reminder again that if you'd like to get in touch with me, just go to yournewaspect.com where you can sign up for my weekly career tips as well as take my free career readiness transition quiz. So join us next Wednesday at 3 o'clock when my guest will be Chris Wilderspin of Bellevue Pilates, who will be here to help me answer our career transition question of the month for May. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week on Reigniting You.